Welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your home for NFL news, views and opinions on this side of the pond. With me today, not quite a full house of accomplices. John, Jim, Paul, say hello.
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 Sadly, Gary not with us because it's his wedding anniversary tomorrow, or his wife's birthday. One of the two.
Or he's sacking someone, I can't remember.
No, I believe it's his wedding anniversary.
I believe it is. It's not his wife's birthday.
So I'd imagine he's limbering up for his one session of the year.
£3,000 bed. He better be.
If that mattress is rocking, don't come a knocking. Thank you for joining us for our week 2 review. Don't forget to check out Jim's musings on the website when he bothers to do them. And join in with our discussion and debates on Twitter.
At the Snap UK.
Thank you. Week 2 made week 1 look tamer than a party at Mary Whitehouse's residence. 16 games between Thursday and Monday, 9 of which were decided by a single score, and 3 were utter blowouts by 20 or more.
It's another niche reference you've got there.
I know, I really enjoyed the Mary Whitehouse reference. I don't do any partying these days. I have no idea what's tame or not. I think.
I mean, knowing what's tame or not is completely different from remembering Mary Whitehouse.
The week began
Big
last
in the
Thursday
60s.
night with a clash between AFC West divisional opponents, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. With an early contender for our sweetest play of the week thrown in, the final score, Chargers 24, Chiefs 27. Where do you want to start with this one?
Herbert's injured.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it, cracking the cartilage between your ribs?
And also being treated by the man being sued by the man you replace.
So was it this time 2 seasons ago, Tyrod Taylor had to miss a game because the team doctor punctured his lung while treating cracked ribs?
Yes, that was exactly
And that's where Justin Herbert got his start and never relinquished the role.
And Tyrod Taylor's currently suing that very doctor.
Yes. It's not ideal, is it? I mean, accidents do happen, and we all know everyone gets sued in America. That's life. But,
I mean, this seems like quite a relevant thing to sue someone for. I mean, it's not
I would say so.
Spill some coffee over him.
I mean, accidents happen at work. I mean, there's not, there's a difference between dropping your cup of coffee to destroying the prize asset of the team.
Tyrod Taylor's not a prize asset of his team.
well,
Destroying the focal point of the attack of the team.
The Chargers got lucky because I don't think they maybe just didn't realise just how good Herbert was. But I think...
you think this was all a ploy?
Tyrod's suing him for $5 million. It's not a...
It's not a lot, really. In the big scheme of things, when you think about a starting quarterback who've been making, minimum $25 million a year.
I don't think Tyrod's earning that.
No, I'm
So
saying...
to him, 5 million.
But he's still
is
earning 7 somehow.
As a backup.
Moving on from horrendous doctoring, Herbert is indeed injured. It's a week-to-week prognosis, basically. It'll take time to recover.
Fair play to him. He came back into the game. I broke a rib recently and I could barely breathe.
Christ, and we all hear about it as well.
How he came back into the game and carried on throwing the ball, I don't know. But
You broke a rib falling over walking a dog, though, didn't you?
yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, it's not quite as manly, is it?
It's not, no.
Just saying.
But I carried on walking.
You were back in the game straight away. You didn't miss a play. You were right there.
Me and Herbert, we're men.
Yeah, Herbert played very well. The game was very close because he played very well. Patrick Mahomes also very good. Their numbers were fairly close, and they are 2 of the best 4 quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah, the big
Comfortably.
Big difference in the rushing attack where Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a game and Austin Eckler just had a very mediocre game. 14 carries, 39 yards, 2.8 average. Look, if Herbert is going to be out, or even if he's not out, he's still going to be limited to an extent. That rushing attack has to start firing because it's been a bit lame the first 2 weeks.
Has to rush or attack.
Yeah, has to do one or the either. Yeah,
Eckler needs to find some form. The problem is a lot of his best work comes when he's allowed to catch and run, which requires Herbert to operate at least semi-proficiently. So it's going to be interesting to see. Are you laughing at the word semi?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I thought
Yes.
you were, yeah. Just check. You're such a child. So my early nomination for Sweetest Player of the Week, the Watson 99-yard interception return.
yeah. I mean, it was a great interception, but I think
It jumped. Yeah, I'm just getting one in early
it's a
because
bit of a reach.
I
You
like
reckon?
it. I like it
There
because
were some good
it was the game winning thing, wasn't it? Like
Really?
the Chargers couldn't, especially with Herbert not at 100%. That's probably why the pick happens anyway. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good play.
I like the fact it was is he a 7th round pick?
Yeah.
This time last year, he's working in Wendy's or something. I always like those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice.
Nice feel-good story.
You know who else calls the AFC West home? That's right, the Las Vegas Raiders, who hosted the Cardinals, both entering the week at 0-1. And this ended in wild fashion with one of the craziest quarterback plays we've ever seen and will ever see, resulting in a Cards 29, Raiders 23 after overtime scoreline. The Raiders were 20-0 up at half-time and contrived to lose this game in Gruden-esque style, I will point out.
I was arguing, I think, me and you, me and
us
John,
two, yeah.
That at some point, I think, when the Cardinals were 20-0 down, are the Cardinals the worst team in football at the moment? Now, fair play, they've come back. But I don't put that comeback on Cliff Kingsbury, because you don't draw up schemes for a 2-point conversion where you run around 84 yards before eventually getting it.
It just looked, there's that scene in The Simpsons where you've got the Globetrotters playing the Generals.
He's
spinning the ball on his finger.
So there's two things there. There's one, fair play to Kyler Murray. He's played brilliantly in the fourth quarter, dragged his team back. Secondly, like the Las Vegas defense was absolutely gassed. They were on the field for a long period, but they weren't making tackles.
It looked like a Madden glitch.
So many tackles.
Like if sometimes if you run back a few yards, the defense just stops. And there was a couple of times this week that looked like Madden glitches. There was this, like a couple of the Murray plays, and when Mariota fell over and got back.
DeAndre Swift fell over as well.
Yeah,
that was one of my sweetest plays of the week.
But there was a couple of bizarrely, like, there's a few teams that just look really rubbish on defense, and it's not the Chiefs for once. The Chiefs normally start so slowly. They've come out fine.
Is it worth pointing out that Kyler Murray was part of the reason why they were so desperately bad to start with? His first few plays were punt, interception, punt.
Like, and he's not even a punter.
No, and he's not. Nothing was happening.
No.
Now, there's been a lot of criticism about him playing within structure, right? And I think once the game was practically lost, he felt free to just be Kyler Murray.
And that's my point. Yeah. Like, they've drawn up a game plan which doesn't work. They've got incredibly lucky. So we on about the Raiders, they were a little bit unlucky to lose. Like, Kyler Murray's just a bit of a freak, but they only won it because Kyler Murray was doing Kyler Murray things, not Cliff Kingsbury things.
Yeah, but I don't particularly rate Kingsbury, but I don't know how much of this is on him and how much is it on the fact that I don't think Kyler can execute the game plan. He isn't any good until the game breaks down.
He can't execute because he doesn't study it enough.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the fault still remains. I still don't think this result means he's worth the money.
Or is the game plan shit?
Yeah. Well, it could be.
That's the thing. Like, if you're aiming at Marquise Brown, who, I mean, the fact that they paid a first-round pick for him.
No Robert Woods.
He's no Robert Woods.
He is no Robert Woods.
Wondale Moore, AJ
receiver.
Who I think has 2 receptions through the first 2 weeks, but we'll come back to that later.
Greg Dortch had another good game.
Greg Dortch had another good game.
But that's it. Zach Ertz was excellent, 8 receptions, 75 yards.
Yeah.
He also took out a security guard who was facing the other way, but apparently the guy is okay. But he proper wiped him out.
I didn't want to know how that guy was.
Yeah, apparently he's okay. But Zach Ertz didn't look remotely bothered that he'd wiped the guy out. He just sort of shrugged and walked off. This is a rough start for the Raiders. 0-2, not looking pretty. I know they were unlucky, if you like, but it's not the start that McDaniels is after. Don't forget, he's a massively losing coach as a head coach.
That was one of my favourite things of Twitter over the weekend, was bitter Broncos fans.
They shouldn't be shouting too much at the moment.
No, but just bitter Bronco fans who were talking about, see, this is what you get when you hire him.
The Hunter Renfrow fumble was what actually lost them the game.
That's his
overtime.
3rd fumble this year. He had 5 last
year.
He
had the ball punched out. Byron Murphy picks up, scoop and score, and that seals the game.
It's fine, but they got 3 points in the second half against a Cardinals team who barely looked like bothering to turn
Cardinals
up.
Defense is terrible as well.
Like JJ Watt, Byron Murphy, miss those 2. The rest of it is pap.
There's players who should be better. Byron Murphy's a first-round pick. Yeah. Isaiah Simmons is a first-round pick. There's a lot of first-round talent on that defense.
There is, but
JJ Watt got their only sack of the game. That shouldn't be a thing that's happening in 2022.
Especially for a team you beat.
especially for that against that offensive line as well, which
Yeah.
we know is bad. Like, look how much success. I know they're on a different level, but look how much success Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack had against that line last week. Sorry,
it's awful. So
Devontae Adams had a quiet game, 7 targets, but only 2 receptions for 12 yards and a touchdown.
I still think the Raiders need to get more out of Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
3.6 yards a carry, 19 carries for 69 yards. But he needs to be involved in everything. Like, he had 1 reception for 12 yards. He needs to be involved in the passing game.
in the second half as well, I barely saw Devontae Adams.
But that's because he only had 2 catches for the whole game.
Like, you've bought in, you've sold the farm for this guy. Throw him the fucking ball.
I think that's a fair point.
A very fair point.
Well, I mean, they did that the first week, and we all sat here saying, well, you know, you got Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. You need to mix them into it a little bit. And to be fair, they have. He's got 7 targets, which is a decent level of targets. He's only caught 2 of them, so
I think we've been fair.
against a pretty shoddy defense.
Yeah,
We've given them fair feedback. He needs to throw every play to a mix of receivers whilst only throwing to Adams and including Jacobs.
yes.
But also running and scrambling and running around like he does Kyle.
Is this why we aren't head coaches in the NFL?
Maybe.
Okay.
No, but like they should. Like, let's not kid. This Cardinals team sucks. They got great when it was balls to the wall and just like, you know, Kyler doing Kyler things rather than doing clinker nut stuff.
But this is a playoff team last year.
Yeah, but they remember how they got into the playoffs.
They won their first 10 games.
They won their first 10 games and then couldn't buy a win. It's they're without.
They've won 2 of their last 8, haven't they?
Yeah, it's not good. They didn't look very. The thing that worries me is there are other teams in the AFC West who I think can only improve because Herbert's going to get fitter. The Broncos can't be as shit forever, I hope.
That's right.
And the Raiders are just going to find themselves completely out of contention by week 6.
Well, we will see. Kyler Murray was our first heroic quarterback of the week, but do you know who the second one might be? Yep,
Joe Flacco.
You guessed it. No, Cooper Rush. That's right, the backup at the Cowboys, the ginger guy that's not Andy Dalton. With a little help from his kicker, Rush took his opportunity and led the Cowboys to a 2017 victory over the surprisingly 0-2 Bengals. And it doesn't look great for Burrow and his company.
It's not surprisingly, I would say. Well, you've got an O-line made of cheese.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Burrow's been sacked 13 times in 2 games. The last quarterback to be sacked 13 times in the first 2 games of the season?
David Carr.
David Carr.
Or
Just because he got sacked a lot of times.
Yeah, 2002 and 2003, I think.
Super Bowl winning quarterback, David Carr. Let's not forget.
Well, Super Bowl hanger-on.
Super Bowl attending. Yeah.
This is the ultimate Super Bowl hangover. This is how teams start when they've lost the Super Bowl. And, do you know, some of it's on Burrow. He's holding the ball a long time. He doesn't look ready. I know he missed the preseason, so fine. But that O-line, as Paul said, is Swiss cheese. And they can't stop anybody. They can't stop a crisp packet right now. It's terrible.
No, this is 2 games that they really should have won. They should have beaten the Steelers last week. You have to beat this Dallas team without Dak Prescott. It's an embarrassment to lose to Cooper Rush, no matter how
Do you want
good.
to tell me who the last AFC champion team was that lost their first 2 games of the season?
Ravens?
No.
Patriots.
In?
2016.
Yeah,
after
when
that.
Peyton left.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
The 99 Broncos.
Oh, when
When Elway left.
Elway left, yeah.
Yeah, they started 0-2. That was the last time an AFC champion started
to be
disbanding.
fair, when you got that Hall of Fame quarterback who goes and your Hall of Fame running back gets crippled and retired.
Not ideal, but the Bengals haven't lost that many big
no,
pieces.
they've
Added.
on
Added,
paper
though.
they look stronger.
It should be better.
Like Lael Collins, like the fact that the Dallas defensive line must be going, God, like how much was he up? Like we were good. It was good for us, surely. They were awful.
Can't do it all themselves.
Oh,
But
no,
the rest of them were
rest of
bad.
But
Laramie Tunsil proves you can do it on your own.
well, Laramie Tunsil is the 3rd best O lineman according to PFF. Which is fine, but he's doing all right. Like, I don't know how much money they've spent to make that team worse.
A lot.
Like, it's a Nottingham Forest
like
job.
Say they brought in Lyle Collins. They also brought in two
Kappa.
other offensive, Kappa from the Bucks and another interior offensive lineman, and I think they drafted lineman as well. I do think there is an element of Joe Burrow. He is holding the ball too long. He is looking for those
He's
deep
going to
plays.
get injured.
But the longest play they had was only a 19-yard pass to T. Higgins.
Yeah,
Like they didn't get that
Nothing's
connection with
clicking.
Jamar Chase.
Nothing's clicking.
Wasn't happening.
Brett Maher hit the 50-yard field goal to win the game. Cooper Rush did exactly what he needed to do. He wasn't overly heroic, but he actually was.
It was all right. 1931, 235 yards and a touchdown. No interceptions.
That's a solid game for
That
a
is a
backup
solid
quarterback.
game.
Is the combination of Cooper Rush, Zeke Elliott, and Pollard, combined with now the emerging Noah Brown, is that going to be enough to keep the Cowboys in contention until Dak is back? Let's say, optimistically, week 6 or 7.
But this is a scary division at the minute. Not in terms of talent, but scary division in terms of prediction. Because the Eagles look very, very good. The Giants are looking
Difficult to beat.
a lot
Yes.
better.
I'd say.
Wink Martindale defense,
Yeah.
wow. The Commanders are a team that play in Maryland.
Absolutely. I just want to know.
They've got
like,
the Rams as
They-
well.
they- they-
They're at the Rams and probably versus the Lions, if we're saying he comes back week 6.
so, if they can win
Like week
another
7.
2 games without
So, yeah.
Dak, then
That is-
they're in
that's-
contention.
Yeah, that's huge. If they've won 2 games.
When Dak, if you come back week 6, you say he's still got 11 games to make that up. He's fine. It's
You know,
not.
Cooper Rush has only started 2 games for the Cowboys and he's won them both. Right? That's pretty good as records go.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah,
It's-
Noah
it's-
Brown deserves some praise. He's
He's the
stepping up.
quarterback definition of a stopped clock.
Well, yeah, but without going through all the other motions. He hasn't lost yet.
We see this from quarterbacks, so don't we? Like, no one's got any tape on Cooper Rush because
True.
what's the point? So they come in, they do all right in their first game. It is like he started well. The Bengals did come back into the game, and it was a kick that won it. I would worry that if a Wink Martindale defense next week can get at him, like it's the difference between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott is immense.
And potentially a Wink Martindale defense that's got an elite top 10 talent pass rusher coming in.
Yeah,
Speaking of top 10 pass rush and talents, Micah Parsons had an incredible start to the season.
yeah.
He has the most sacks out of anybody in their first 18 games
Yes.
in football.
Ever. That's crazy. That's
For someone
absolutely
who should have
crazy.
been off the ball linebacker, that's pretty decent.
He's
They
fucking
completely
incredible.
changed how they
It's
use him.
annoying he plays for the Cowboys because if he played for someone,
Anyone other than the
anyone
Cowboys.
likable, you'd be like, yeah, that guy's fucking
Apart
brilliant.
from the Browns.
So the
Oh, yeah.
Cowboys have a win on the board in the NFC East, but what of the rest of the division? Well, one of the 2 Monday night football games pitted the Eagles against the Vikings, both coming off good week 1 wins. But in truth, only one team showed up. And as ever, Kirk Cousins and co. went hiding in prime time. This was bad. Vikings lose 24-7. And what a terrible second half by both offenses, I'd point out. But basically, Jalen Hurts stole the show here, and Kirk Cousins vanished again.
So you say that quarterback who played for Oklahoma and Alabama is quite good.
I'm saying that
He's
quarterback
learned to throw.
apparently can't pass. Yeah, he's not bad this season.
No, I would concede. He is better. He's a better passer this season than he has been for the
Now,
last 2
somebody
seasons.
picked the Eagles for the Super Bowl, and I'd just like to give props to that guy because they are 2-0 and they have been awesome.
Let's give props to that guy in February.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, John really went. I like it when somebody goes balls out and makes a prediction, and this was
week
good.
2.
Yeah, this was good. They look excellent.
I think the Vikings' defense was pretty bad though. Like
They couldn't get anything
They
going.
couldn't get anything going. There were a couple of run plays that I saw where I think Miles Sanders just waltzed through the defensive line. There were no linebackers there, and by the time that any of the defensive backer realised he'd gone 30, 40 yards already. Like, Jalen Hurts run the ball brilliantly.
The whole Eagles team
Yeah.
ran very well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you said.
But they also completely stopped the the Vikings run game,
Yeah,
which,
I mean-
which they need.
Yeah,
Darius Slay was just completely shut down Justin Jefferson. Like, completely.
it's one of the sort of lesser talked about things this week is the star running backs like very few of them actually made much of an impact. Like you're going to get onto other ones, but Dalvin Cook barely did anything, you know. Whereas the Eagles, like some other teams, are running by committee, and they're doing fine. You know, you're not going to. I think it's. You're looking. I think the way we look at winning game has changed because of fantasy, and you're looking for stars.
Yeah.
But actually, having a committee running sort of offense, I think it's
So
fucking
many teams
exciting.
are doing it now. Like
It
the
shouldn't
49ers,
surprise you,
yeah.
because how many teams have a committee of wide
The
receivers?
49ers have been doing it for years. Like you've got Chubb and Kareem Hunt in Cleveland. You've got Pollard and then Zeke Elliott.
Jones
in
and
Dallas.
Dillon.
Jones and
Yeah.
Dillon.
I can't think of a team that's won the Super Bowl that has a star running back.
Not for a long
I
time.
can't think of one in 15 years.
CJ Anderson.
No. I didn't say superstar. I said star.
Paul, without looking, who was the lead rusher for the Vikings on the day?
I know. But I'm
Ham.
looking. No.
No, he didn't. He had 0 carries.
Ham had 0 carries.
Would it be someone like Jefferson on a jet sweep or something?
Close enough. Jalen Rager, 1 attempt for 17 yards.
No, Kirk Cousins had 2 attempts for 20
Yeah,
yards.
sorry, lead by average. I apologise. Yes, Jalen Rager roundly booed every time he took the ball by Philadelphia, and I don't know why.
He had 1 catch for 7 yards.
But he was doing the punt or kickoff returns, and he got booed every time.
I'm going to share with you an interview after this. I'm not going to find it and play it now because it'd just be so much dead air. There's an interview by one of the other wideouts in Minnesota who basically just said nothing about his talent as a player, but just spoke about how thick he is.
I can well believe that. You want to tell me? I mean, it is in front of you. The last time Kirk Cousins had a rating this low, week 17 of 2017, when he was 31.1, and the last time he threw 3 interceptions, week 6 of 2020. So he has been fairly consistent, and they win when he's consistent. But these aberrations on primetime games are incredible. He's got 1 win in like 12 primetime games.
I'd schedule him every week.
I don't understand why he can't do it in prime time. And every other game, he's like, he never sets the world alight, but at
The
least
model of high-end
yeah,
consistency.
Exactly, high-end consistency, and that's good.
Okay, still in the NFC East, the Giants go 2-0 for the first time since 2016 as they win by 3 over the Panthers in what was a close game with defences on top throughout. Graham Gano nailed this.
Oh, man.
4 of
Revenge
4.
game.
Graham
Yeah,
Gano
yeah.
revenge game. 4 of 4 over the Panthers. 10 punts between the two teams summed up how good the defences were rather than how bad anybody was. But, boys, 2-0.
Yeah, I mean,
Speechless.
basically, I mean, I'm still preparing for when we end up like 2-15 at the end of the season, but
I hurt my
But-
neck earlier because I had to look. I could look up. I didn't have shame.
I was talking to a guy at work, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, you know," because he's showing a passing interest in the NFL. Now he sits next to me, and he's like, "Oh, who's undefeated so far this season?" I was like, "Oh, it's the Chiefs, the Bucks." I was like, and the Giants. He was like, "But aren't they shit?" And I was like, "Yes, they are." But our defense is doing all right against. You know, I think
Who did you beat week 1?
Titans.
Who have shown nothing, and now you've played the Panthers. This is the only caveat, is you've played 2 teams that probably aren't very good.
The next 2 games versus both home games, Dallas and then the Bears.
You could
Yeah.
easily
Really?
be 4-0.
We could be the worst 4-0 team since the Cardinals last year. But I was talking to him about Arsenal because someone, he's an Arsenal fan, and someone said, "Oh, you ain't beaten anyone yet," and we both went, "Yeah, but last year the Arsenal team would have lost to all these shitty teams, and they're winning, so that's good." And it's the same with the Giants. Last year,
You're only growing confidence winning these games.
that's it. It's
Brilliant.
It's backing the Dayball decision.
Yep.
What Sean's done to sort of get rid of a lot. Like if we can get rid of Kenny Golladay, all the better.
Seems like they're gonna do. He didn't even suit up to this game, did he?
Nah, it's
The team were defending him, which I liked, because they made a big point about how he wasn't there for the press at the end, and Julian Love came out and was retweeted by Saquon that Well, neither was I. Why aren't you making a point about me?
Is he feeling left out?
Do you know what I thought was a really solid thing for the Giants from this game is you won the game without it being a breakout game for Barkley. 72 yards rushing. Like, that's fine. That's okay. But you didn't need him to carry the team. The defence carried the team. So you've now had Barkley be really good and then fairly good in 2 games, and your defence has shown up 2 weeks.
I think the thing with Daboll, and I think you see this with the Bills, they don't make many mistakes. Like, they don't give the ball away. Like,
no, Darren Jones. Daniel Jones hasn't fumbled the ball yet this season and lost it.
Is he thrown an interception yet this year?
Yeah,
he did. He threw a silly
week.
one.
He threw a silly one last week and got balled out, but none this week.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think that's going to be a Daboll thing. They look like the Giants of yesteryear under Parcells and Coughlin, where there was discipline within the team, and they played that discipline. And you said it earlier, Martindale's got this defense humming without the 2 starting pass rushers.
Let's quickly touch on Baker. 14 of 29 for 145 yards and a touchdown, sacked twice.
It's just not very good.
Well, it's looking that way, but I don't know how you judge it on this Panthers team because I don't think Matt Rule is very good.
I think the Panthers are very good. I do like the fact that Panthers have become a meme now. You know, there was that thing of Ryan Tannehill, and there was a photo of Vrabel with his arm around him. I was like, you know, you've got DJ Moore there and McCaffrey. You'll do great there.
It's where quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah. But McCaffrey played well, 15 carries, 102 yards. But they don't seem to have any cohesiveness, whereas the Giants look like a team. The Panthers just look like a bunch of players.
But like you say, that's coaching, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I really think Matt Rule's in trouble.
That's Daboll bringing the Giants together. I mean, there are new players, obviously, but there's a lot of players that were there last year. He's pulled them all together and put together a plan that works to that skill set that they've got. Whereas Matt Rule just seems to never have done that with the Panthers. Now, I thought Matt Rule was going to be good when they hired him. I
remember being upset when he joined the Panthers, thinking, I was like, I'd quite like him.
I applauded that hire, but he's just been terrible. He needs to go to Nebraska. Nebraska are ringing him and saying, "Come on, and be our coach." He should
absolutely
quit.
Should take that. The Commanders travelled to Detroit and got schooled by the Lions, 27-36. Last time Jared Goff threw 4 touchdowns, week 17 of 2018, when he was on the Rams. He was imperious. Jared Goff looked really good through 2 weeks.
That scoreline flattered the Commanders.
It absolutely did. Carson Wentz went back to being Wentz that we normally see. He was all over the shop.
It's also his number 1 versus number 2, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, and one of them lived up to that tag.
Well, Mum-Ra St. Brown, is he what the Lions are turning into Debo 2.0?
Amon-Ra.
Yeah, that's it, Mum-Ra, from Thundercats.
Yeah.
Because this guy is being used, like they are getting in the ball in every way possible.
He's awesome.
He's so good.
Like he's one of those players who's just like, just give him the ball. Whatever he has to. I mean, he had the most rushing yards. He had the most receiving yards. 2 touchdowns for receiving. Did he have 2 last week as well? Like,
he's the 3rd player with 8 receptions in 8 straight games.
Yeah.
And I think the other 2 are, one of them's Antonio Brown. You know, these are.
The other one's probably something like Calvin Johnson.
I think it might be like Mike Evans or Michael
Randy
Thomas.
Moss or
It's like future Hall of Famer stuff. He's going
brilliant.
up in. It's brilliant.
Aiden Hutchinson sets the Lions rookie record with 3 sacks in a game.
Yes,
no other Lion ever.
That's the tallest dwarf award, isn't it?
Hi there, that's me. I don't know.
Still.
He was awesome.
Very, very
He's
good.
so
Really
good. That
very
pocket
good.
was collapsing so quick around Carson Wentz. And this is the problem. Wentz looked rattled. As soon as he knew there was a problem with the O-line, he went back to being scattershot accuracy again.
He did. But he did, to be fair, he did turn it around to get a bit in the
second
half.
half.
He did come back, and his stat lines are actually pretty decent.
But what of the Commanders' run game?
It was bad.
Really bad.
It was
The
really
Lions'
bad. And
defense
that
stepped
was,
up
That
there.
was the biggest difference from last week, where the Commanders probably surprised us a little bit. Antonio Gibson was brilliant last week. I was like, damn it, I should have picked him up in fantasy. Now I'm like, okay, that's why I didn't pick him up in fantasy. 14 carries for 28 yards.
Yeah, I've got him in
Not
fantasy.
good enough. They didn't, Curtis Samuel had 7 receptions, 78 yards, but they need to be using Curtis Samuel like the Lions are using Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That. I think they're slowly working him back in. It looks like he's going to be a big part of the game plan.
Yeah. Because between him, McLaurin, and Juan Dotson,
Juan.
like,
Wuhan Dotson.
Wuhan.
that is a decent. That is, and if you're throwing,
Got you all in
if you're
check.
throwing Antonio, if you're throwing Antonio Gibson and Logan Thomas, that's a decent skill set of players.
Yes, it is. They're a team that should be performing way beyond what they're actually putting on the field, even when they win.
The Lions remind me very much of the Browns around 2018, 2019.
Starting
Hutchinson,
to get it together.
yeah, Hutchinson feels like Myles Garrett coming in, just energy.
You think about what happens when they go into the draft next year, and they've got 2 picks because they've got one from the Rams still for Stafford, and they trade up and put a really good quarterback in that system.
I don't think you need a good quarterback. I think he's fine.
I don't think you maybe need one, and you might be keeping Jared Goff for another year. But what happens if you keep him for another year and then you bring in a quarterback beneath him, and then the following year you've got
Jared Goff isn't an elevator, is he? He is better depending on who's around him.
Yeah.
But what he is the ultimate in the league in confidence quarterback. Yeah. If he thinks you believe in him, then he's brilliant. If he thinks you doubt him, like McVay started to, he fell off a cliff.
And like Dan Campbell's the perfect coach for that type of player, because he's all about just building up that confidence in their players and motivating. The other situation is if they do get Jared Goff, they've got 2 first-round picks. They bring in 2 quality players and improve the team overall.
They've got Penis Steele on the O-line as well.
Yeah.
The O-line's really good.
The lines are really good.
Well, the O-line especially is one of the best in the league at the moment, I think.
Okay, Tom Brady and the Bucs triumphed over the Winston-led Saints in a slow game that ended 20-10 and allowed Tampa Bay to break the Saints' hoodoo over them. But this one got ugly. Where do you want to start?
Brady being a little bitch with his Surface.
Again, second year in a row, smashing his iPad.
Microsoft loved that.
iPad, no,
it's not an iPad.
Surface.
It's Microsoft.
The Surface thing.
It hit the Surface.
It did.
I mean, it was
the team.
It did, but it wasn't. It was nothing to do with what Brady did, was it? It was. Evans took one for the team, didn't he?
Yeah. So Tom Brady was jarring at the refs and the opposition, and then basically someone got up in his grill. I'm guessing it was Lattimore.
Lattimore was off the.
And Mike Evans actually ran from near his bench to try and lay out Marshawn Lattimore, and the outcome was they both got sent off the field and ejected, and then it meant the Saints couldn't cover anybody.
He just opened the field for the Bucs. It was like a tactical ejection.
It really was.
That sounded.
Is that what you go for before you go out on a date?
I had to have a vasectomy because of one of those.
I think it was actually Bruce Arians was on the sideline as well, and Latimer was having a go at him. And I think this is all Bruce Arians.
Why was Bruce Arians on the sideline?
I don't get it. Like, when do you ever have the ex-coach on the sideline?
I don't know.
That's just. I know he's a consultant.
I think when you're 3-3 against the Saints, it was fucking boring.
It was a turgid game.
It was sloppy. That's what it was.
More sloppiness in week 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. Kamara being inactive didn't help the Saints.
That was a last-minute decision.
It really was. And Mark Ingram forced into the number 1 role. He fumbled again. I think that's 2 weeks running. He also clearly running with this ankle injury, and he was just out there because they had to do something.
He's old, isn't he?
Well, yes. I don't know. I mean, you say old. He'd be younger than you. But what we did get in this game was the return to the
32,
Winston.
by the way.
Yeah, so he's younger than all of us. He did get the Winston meltdown.
We got ultimate Jameis Winston. There was an interception. It's like, that's brilliant. At the worst possible time, you just throw an interception. And then when you think it can't get any better, he throws a pick 6.
Beautiful.
Yes, Jameis.
This is
yes.
ultimate Jameis. Like Uber Jet. No, not that. It just felt right, didn't it?
Because it was the Bucks as well. It brought out his inner Buck.
It was just so right, and it's why you don't want Jameis Winston as a quarterback.
The NFC South schedule was completed as the plucky Falcons narrowly lost 31-27 to the Rams, who recovered from their week 1 kicking, but they're living dangerously. Matt Stafford, 2 more interceptions. This one was only really sealed because Jalen Ramsey went back to being Jalen Ramsey and wasn't the player that he was last week, where he didn't look ready at all.
Yeah, he looked really poor last week. But fine. I
don't know what to make of the Rams.
No.
Cam Akers looks shot. He just looks so bad. And I don't understand why. Henderson's running behind the same O-line, which we know isn't as good, but he's getting yards.
31 rushing yards in 2 games.
It's not
That's
ideal.
And yeah, okay, they had a play which went for negative 26 yards.
Definitely doesn't help.
But
No.
even so, even if you only have 50 yards over 2 games, it's just not enough. And yeah, Matt Stafford's a brilliant quarterback. But if you know that every single play is going to be pass, like, it's balanced, but they're just not getting enough out of that running game at all. And the defense is, I don't know. I think there's a general theme throughout this week of obviously kind of comebacks. This was a near comeback. I feel players are suffering from not having that 4th pre-season and not being fit enough.
Well, none of them really play much in pre-season.
Exactly.
So at halftime, it was Falcons 3, Rams 21. Let me read you the sequence of plays for the second half. They opened with Rams touchdown, so 3-28, followed by Falcons punt, Rams interception, Falcons touchdown, Rams field goal, Falcons touchdown, Rams blocked punt for a touchdown, Rams fumble, Falcons interceptions, Rams safety to run out the clock, which, by the way, he didn't run enough time off the clock. He just ran out of the
he
back.
sprinted at the back of the... You're like,
Take it easy,
yeah,
mate.
come on, man.
It was very, very strange. And then just when you thought maybe the Falcons can get 1 or 2 plays off here, Mariota fumbled the ball. Yeah, he Marioted it. I mean, he'd been pretty good up until that point, and then he Marioted it. A bit like he had one massive fail last week, he had one this week, and this will always be the knock on him. You can't rely on him for the win.
It was pure Jameis Winston, and then it was pure Marcus Mariota.
Still love
just
him,
for different teams. And they were 28-3 down at one point as well.
Yeah. They look really frisky. They look definitely better than they did last year, but it's not enough.
What do we think about the Rams? Because that's now one loss, but they got beaten down. And then one, okay, they got a win, but...
You remember when the Patriots
Falcons
were good? You remember all those years ago when they were good? Yeah. They used to start off so rocky every year. And by week 7, they were dominating. I think by week 6 or 7,
is this one of those occasions of like the hallmark of a great team is to play badly and win?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll probably start to lean more and more on Henderson. Allen Robinson will get involved. He was more involved this week.
He was. But in the second half, when the Falcons were... catching, like, it seems that Stafford, his only thing is to go, okay, where's Cup? The same with Burrow. They've got one bloke, and
Cup did have some amazing catches.
And it is great when you've got that. Yeah. But, I mean, that sort of...
The chemistry isn't there with Allen Robinson.
No, not yet. It will be, but
Cup had 14 targets. Allen Robinson had 5.
That needs to be
readdressed.
Split. That needs to be
10-9 split.
Yeah, 8 all or whatever. And the other thing is, it's not all on the offense. The Rams' defense is not up to speed yet.
No, it's not.
They've just conceded 27 points to the Falcons. The Rams' defense last year wasn't conceding 14 points to the Falcons.
Yeah.
So it's both sides of the ball. I have absolute confidence that they have enough pieces to make this better.
Yep.
If I could just make one extra point in terms of shit on the Falcons. Hi, Andy. Hope you're well.
Dirty birds.
Matt Ryan threw 60,000 yards last week.
Not in 1 week.
No.
Yeah, just one game.
One game.
Who'd have thought it? The balls are numbered, aren't they, that are in play each week? The ball he threw his 60,000th yard of was ball 283.
Oh.
That made me so happy.
That's harsh.
They will never let this down, will they?
No. It came up on the screen, didn't it, this weekend when they were 28-3 down, and the commentators were like, oh, wow, there's that score
They're
again.
never going to forget it.
No, and rightly so. Anything else to add before we go into the break?
No, sir.
Good.
Go.
We're halfway through with plenty of crazy yet to come. And I want to talk about Jets, a phrase rarer than a Deshaun Watson apology. But let's give credit where it's due. Gang Green were down by 13 with 2 minutes 30 on the clock, and yet somehow they overturned the Browns 31-30.
I've never been able to overturn the Browns.
It's your staple position, isn't it?
I'm talking about diarrhea, by the way.
So glad you clarified that. Sounded a wee bit racist there, Paul. So let's start with Cade York from 0 to 0, Mr. PAT, on the Browns' final scoring possession. And eventually that's what allowed the Jets in. Let's talk Joe Flacco as well. This was the ultimate Joe Flacco game. He was asked to unfurl the cannon a couple of times, and it's there just about. But more importantly, as opposed to, and this isn't to take a swipe at, but as opposed to younger or rookie quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, he just looked so calm. Like, okay, we've got 2 minutes 30. I can actually still win this. That's what he looked like.
Of course he looks calm. He's already had his $100 million
Yeah, I know. He's not playing for anything other than
the joy of playing.
Yeah.
But just being away from his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get it, and it won't be replicated very often, but he looked actually imperious on the final 2 drives.
He did, and that's fair to say. I think, Garrett Wilson just looked amazing. Like,
Yeah.
they've
That
been
is-
after
that is
number
something.
1 wide receiver for so long.
I thought it was going to be Elijah Moore, but this guy...
Yeah, I mean, the two of them, and, sprinkling in Corey Davis. Again, that's a decent skill set of players.
Sounds like some sort of thing you don't want to get involved in, a sprinkling of
definitely
Corey Davis.
But it's also, like...
Imagine if you dropped Breece Hall in fantasy as well.
Imagine that. This is a game...
Did we all do that?
No, it
Yeah.
was just Perry.
Oh, I did it as well.
Oh, well, me.
I mean, I did score 170 points. It should be
Apparently
pointed
so.
out, after dropping Breece Hall, so it's fine.
This was a game where it was bad game management from the Browns.
Yeah.
Like, they went, and look, they should never have lost the lead in the first place. It's absolutely ridiculous. They had a 99.8% chance of winning in the fourth quarter. But
Was it 99.9% chance of winning at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead of scoring his third touchdown, Nick Chubb should have knelt down.
Yeah, he didn't run out the clock.
I don't care how people say, oh, yeah, but that's all brilliant with hindsight. Your job as a head coach is to think about every single situation that could happen and have a plan for it and then win the game.
Okay.
He kneels down, they win the game.
I agree with you. As a juxtaposition, you always take the points. You always take the points.
No, you don't.
No,
you
it
don't.
was
You don't always take the points. Otherwise, we'd never have a kneel down. We'd never have
far
a QB nil.
less common for the Jets to score twice in 2 minutes 30 than
With
it
an onside
is
kick
for
as
them
well.
to not. Yeah, to recover an onside kick than it is for them to not score
But
twice.
You've given them the opportunity
Yeah.
when you had the chance
Exactly.
to not give them the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Sean Payton, would make Kamara dictate the kneel down. Sean McVay would make Todd Gurley do it.
Sean McVay
They're both
ordered-
two
Sean
pretty
McVay-
good
Sean
coaches.
McVay ordered the safety because he knew what would happen.
Yeah.
He knew he had to take time off the clock and give away 2 points.
Agreed.
Him and coaches like him, Belichick, they're thinking like 3, 4, 5 moves ahead.
So you're
Browns
laying
didn't.
this at Stefanski's feet.
Coach of the year. The Coach of the Year curse that seems to have happened over the last few years.
You've lost 31-30 to the
I
Jets.
point out Jacoby Brissett is not the reason the Browns are 1-1. He's actually played absolutely
Yeah, he's been
fine.
decent. He was decent again last week. He threw an interception, but 22 completions of 27 attempts on a touchdown is good. And he took 1 sack as well.
Yeah, he's evasive. That's the thing. But I've written here, Week 13 against Miami 2016. You want to tell me what that is? Week 13 versus Miami 2016.
I have a bloody clue.
That is the last time Joe Flacco threw 4 touchdowns in a game.
Wow.
That is getting on for 6 years ago. Like, the guy has been a backup for 5 years.
Well, he's broke his back since then.
Yeah. So, but bearing in mind, he's also played for the Broncos in that time
Yep.
and was supposed to be
He
their
was the st-
starter.
he was the
He
starter,
was the starter.
yeah.
But I just felt it was worth acknowledging the fact
Yeah.
that the Jets played really well. He played really well. And maybe Salah has bought himself more kudos and more time.
Yeah, and to your point, absolutely. They scored 2 touchdowns in a very short space of time, and they got an onside. How rare is it to get an onside kick nowadays? And they got an onside kick. It's brilliant, and I loved it, and I applauded it. I thought it was amazing, and I'm happy for Salah. I'm happy for all the ex-49ers coaches and the current one who all won this week as well.
Can I just say, I thought the Jets were going to do okay this season.
You did say that.
Did you say that?
You did say he did. He did. He's
I'd
put big
made-
money on
I'd
that.
made bets.
I was happy to see
it's
the
a freak
Browns
result.
lose.
Yeah, we're always happy.
We're happy
see
to
the Browns lose.
but they shouldn't have. Quite frankly,
I was chatting.
like the last 2 minutes is just a prime example of how to lose a game.
But it's their defense.
They didn't
Their
get.
defense is struggling.
It's the defense. They didn't get pressure on a 40-year-old man with a broken back.
True. You only had 2 sacks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 sacks, no interceptions. Yeah.
they, the bloke was running into the end zone unopposed. You're like, it's just awful, and I couldn't be happier.
The rush defense was terrible.
Yeah, and it's like it shouldn't be. Like that defense includes Clowney, who got a fumble, didn't he?
Yes.
Gower, they're just not getting.
At any point when Jadeveon
brilliant.
Clowney is your best defender, it's not what it should be.
No,
He's still a good player, but on a team with all the other players they've got, he shouldn't be the standout player on defense.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
But he did just get a finger on the fumble, and it was enough.
Yeah, but he got
Really?
But yeah, it looks like a team that once again has come in. The defense alone has come into the season cold because they don't look like they know each other anymore.
All right, that's enough talk of Jets and Browns because they shouldn't dominate everything.
No.
But you know who else plays in the AFC East? That's right, it's the Miami Dolphins. That's who. And man, they look good. The Finns travelled to Baltimore on Sunday, and at one point in the second half, they trailed by 21 points. But this team under Mike McDaniels knows no fear. Tua and co recover at a canter. Miami 42, Baltimore 38. I don't even know where you start. Let's start. At the beginning though with the Devin Duvernay kickoff return for a touchdown. Another nominee for your sweetest player of the week right there because that was incredible.
That was decent.
There's a few,
and then Lamar breaking off a 75-yard touchdown run.
Also decent. Had 119 yards on the day.
Those two things combined should probably enough to be winning you most games, and yet somehow
This is another one.
Tua throws 6 touchdowns. He hasn't thrown 6 touchdowns since he was in college.
The Baltimore defense seemed to just
Evaporated.
Like they were. I know they're both really quick, but the amount of open space that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had,
There's 4 yards of separation.
it was ridiculous.
How many teams have got a better 1-2 combination at wide receiver right now? I would hazard to say it's none.
I can't think any on the top of my head.
Jefferson Thielen is pretty good.
Yeah, maybe Thielen's not at the races this season, really.
I'd probably take Hill and Waddle over those two.
I mean, there's a reason why you're all looking. I mean, I sat earlier and I tried to work it out. I don't think there's anyone that's definitely better.
Aguilar and Bourne.
Shut the fuck up.
DK and Tyler?
Maybe, but you won't see it this season.
No.
And that's the problem. Even the Bills, like Diggs and
Cup and Robinson.
maybe if Robinson picks up. But yeah, so I thought
the fact that we're struggling to.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe the Bills with Diggs and whoever the number 2
Davis.
is. But really, we've seen it 1 week.
Saw a lot in the postseason at the end of last year. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean,
It's amazing.
I also said that Miami were going to have a very good
You
season.
did?
And I think the thing that people forget with this team is that's a top 6 quarterback. That's one of the best. That's a guy who's got 1,500 yards receiving, a number 1 draft pick who had an amazing rookie season. And people are surprised they're good. And they brought in one of the best left tackles going.
Yeah.
And people are surprised they're good.
It's a fair point.
They still conceded a fuckload of points.
They did. Waddle and Hill are the only pair of wideouts to have 170 yards plus and 2 touchdowns apiece in the same game since the 1950s.
Wow.
It was. They weren't at a canter, were they? They were at full pace, burning past players, and it was. Tyreek Hill when he's playing like that. I'm sorry, he is the most fun player in the league. Just watching him score. Like Mark Peters is not a slow player. He made it look like it was like me chasing a fucking car. This wasn't
the Ravens like end of last season when they had the backfield injured. They had most of their players out there. I know they've lost a couple already, but like you say, Marlon Humphrey was out there, Peters was out there, Carl Hamilton, the number 1 pick, was out there. Who got absolutely
Marcus
destroyed.
Williams, the safety, was there.
Yeah,
And
that's a good safety. Like
in the second half, the Dolphins plays read touchdown, punt, touchdown, 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 touchdown. Like that's all they did. They had one drive that stalled and everything else.
I know people say that Miami conceded 38 points, but all that will matter at the end of the season is that win.
And it's a good Ravens team. It's not like they've conceded 38 points to the Falcons.
No.
They've conceded 38 points to a good Ravens team. And are we going to put to bed that Tua Tagovailoa is on the hot seat against
I think that it takes more than one signature win.
But he's had 2 good weeks now.
I think it's going to come down to, does Mike McDaniels think his career can sit with Tua. And if you've got these pair of wide receivers and a half-decent running game and a tight end who can't do the gritty but can score touchdowns, what more do you need?
Did he leap?
Are we discussing whether a guy who just scored six touchdowns and threw for nearly 500 yards is going to last?
Okay,
Someone did that in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he is currently out the league.
Yeah, listen, what Jim's getting at is this is one
Foles.
Oh, yeah.
This is one standout game from Tua. That's all it is. We just need to see it a bit more. That's all. I'm just saying. I think he does. I think he sticks now. I don't think it's a problem. But I'm just saying this is the reason we're talking about it is because it is the game.
Teddy Bridgewater's crap.
Teddy Bridgewater is not crap.
Teddy Bridgewater is the best backup in the league, probably.
No, he's not.
Jimmy
Well, now he is. Now he is the best backup in the league. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So is Todd Taylor.
But yeah, they're fine. Well, but you've got to give Tua the chance to earn his place, and he's doing it.
The point is, Mike McDaniels is making the best of what he got, and that is a lot of weapons.
He will be coach of the year.
At this rate,
It could well be, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We know that the Browns, Ravens, and Bengals all lost. So was there any good news for the AFC North? Well, no. The Steelers lost 14-17 against the Patriots at not Heinz Field. I can't remember what it's called. In one of the week's
Acrisure.
dullest games.
What's it called?
Acrisure.
That's just a,
Sounds like a deodorant.
I can't come into work because of that.
no, you can't go into room.
The problem here is both of these teams completely lack explosiveness.
That's diarrhea.
The biggest play between the two teams was the Aguilar reception for his touchdown, which was, 30 yards?
44 yards.
44 yards. There you go. That's it. There was nothing else explosive about either team. The Patriots basically did their one big play and then salted the game out with lots of running.
Yeah, if you take away that 44-yard play, you've got another one of 24 yards for Myers, and then it's the next longest one's 10, 11, 11.
Yeah. And it's the same if you look at the Steelers. There's nothing explosive on either team.
It doesn't need to be explosive, does it? If you get 10, 11 yards on a play, you've moved the ball.
That is a fair point.
Yeah,
You just got to move the ball.
But the whole league now, we've just talked about what the Dolphins can do. If either of these teams, if they're not playing each other, they're going to get blown away by other teams that can absolutely hit explosive plays. And that's what happened to the Patriots last week. And it will happen to the Steelers.
There's always that kind of X factor of, you might get 170 yards each and throw 6 touchdowns, but you've got Bill Belichick coming.
I don't know if he makes any difference anymore. The Steelers win this game if TJ Watt plays.
Literally,
They got very little pressure on Mac Jones, who has not looked assured now. He doesn't have Josh McDaniels.
No sacks this week.
He looked fine.
No.
I thought he looked fine this week.
He had no sacks.
He's not as accurate as he was.
He had
last
so
time.
much time in the pocket. Any quarterback should look good.
The bigger thing as a Patriots fan is that the running game was passable this week. The O-line looked so much better this week. It was a sieve
Step
last
up.
week.
Yeah,
It looked so much better.
But it's a step up against the defense lacking their top pass rusher.
And the other takeaway is neither of these teams is really a playoff contender.
No,
I agree.
They're just not.
Not at the moment.
They're just
The
not.
Steelers will get in because the Steelers.
I don't think they will. I don't think so. The only thing that's going in their favour is how badly that division has started as a whole.
Yes.
They're not. They're tied with the Ravens and the Browns.
So how many weeks are we giving Mitch now? Because on
I'd give
Twitter,
it another 5.
on Twitter,
even to week 5.
The Steelers handles on Twitter are literally full.
They
Yeah, but
could be.
do you reckon Mike Tomlin's currently on Twitter going on?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's an indication of what the fans.
I don't know.
I expect
What are the
fans in
next 3 or
stadium
4
as well.
games? That's the key thing. Like they were never going to start him against the Patriots. He's never going to make his debut against the Patriots.
Well, the next 3 games: Browns, Jets, Bills.
If they're not beating the Jets by halftime, you'll see him. If they're not beating the Jets by halftime, you will see him. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Anybody want to argue with that? And that is about as long as Mike Glennon lasted before Trubisky took over at the Bears.
There's a difference between Mike Glennon and Trubisky.
Yeah, I'm not saying there isn't, but the situation is eerily similar, really.
Like Mitch Trubisky has a much shorter neck. Mike Glennon is like 50% neck.
Davis Mills.
Okay. That crap game clears up the AFC North. So let's cross off the AFC East as well by focusing on the Bills. Something the Titans should have probably tried to do, as they were crushed 41-7 in what may have been their worst game under Vrabel.
I just want to point out, halfway through the night last night on NFL UK tag on Facebook, someone quoted, I think the Titans have got the match to the Bills. Well, literally every comment afterwards, this aged well.
Mr. M. Magoo.
7-7 after 9 minutes, and then the Bills absolutely dominated this game.
It
Like
wasn't even in
they,
question.
the Titans got nothing going. Tannehill looked completely shot. Malik Willis came in the last quarter because they got nothing going. Derrick Henry.
13 carries, 25 yards, 1.9 yards per carry.
And what did he get
Derrick
last
Henry,
week?
Not very much. more.
Not very much more than that. People have clamped down on what the Titans can do. The Titans' second half was punt, muffed reception, interception for a touchdown, punt, fumble, punt.
It's almost like,
That's terrible.
it's almost like we're saying that Ryan Tannehill isn't that good.
He may be on the downswing again.
I
think
feel
it's
for
the
him.
fact that Henry has been bottled up means that they're asking a lot from him.
I think there's two things. I think
He's throwing to Traylon Burks.
Well,
Rob
that's
Woods.
the point.
There's nothing there.
That's a top 17 receiver.
You got Derrick Henry.
Also aged well.
Yeah, you got Derrick Henry who's not being the Derrick Henry we've known and loved over the last couple of years, and you've got no AJ Brown. Like, how bad is that trade looking right now?
It looks appalling.
Because right now you're saying bring him back and pay him whatever he wants.
Yeah, Robert Woods, 4 receptions for 39 yards. Traylon Burks, 4 receptions for 47 yards. It's just not enough. That even when they're throwing the ball, they're not managing to pick up big enough yardage. And when you haven't got Derrick Henry scaring oppositions, then it's easy.
It's easy. You don't have to stack the box to try and defend against him.
It certainly seems that way. The Allen to Diggs connection is the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
Last year it was Burrow to Jamar.
Ooh, Rodgers, Devontae.
I don't know about last
No,
year.
hang on. Well, Rogers Devontae doesn't exist anymore.
Not
Talking
now.
about last year.
Sorry, last
Oh,
year
last year.
it was Burrow to
Yeah,
Jamar,
yeah, it was.
I think. And this year it's Allen to Diggs, and I think that's going to just carry on and carry on and carry on. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's some stat line he has. 12 receptions, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns.
And I still lost in fantasy with him in my team. 'Cause I suck. Mainly because of Derrick Henry, actually. So it's quite a fun game.
Anybody want to try and tell me the last time the Titans were 0-2 to start a year?
2015.
No. Anyone else?
I mean, it's got to be pretty recent, isn't it?
The last-
They've not been that great.
The last year of Mariota.
Yeah.
Fail? No. 2012 was the last time they started this badly. Who do they have then?
Jake Locker.
Jake Locker.
The Hurt Locker.
Yeah. And maybe the backup was Charlie Whitehurst, Clipboard Jesus, something like that.
Yeah, legendary clipboard. Jesus.
It may have been Ryan Fitzpatrick. I can't remember. One of them. It was somebody pretty ropey, I suspect.
Ryan Fitzpatrick's not ropey. I don't hear you.
Back
But
then
it has been confirmed he's not that motherfucker.
Yeah, apparently
Was it not him?
It's not him.
Because
no.
that was if you don't know what that is, Tom Brady said,
We
"I
all
can't
know
believe
who- it's
they
that motherfucker is either Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no idea who it is because it got to be a team that Brady wanted to go to, and that's why they thought it was
Yeah.
Miami.
He was almost buying a house in Vegas. He
Ah.
was looking at houses in Vegas, and apparently John Gruden said, "No, I don't want him." It was all set up.
I
Apparently.
think Ryan Fitzpatrick is upset that it's not him.
Yeah.
I think he was quite amused by that.
Hasselbeck was the backup.
Who was it? Jake Locker.
It was Jake Locker.
Oh, that was a bad miss.
Can you tell me who their free safety was?
Michael Griffin.
It's Michael Griffin.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Because
That
he
draft,
was very good. And he
Yeah.
used to pick me off
Was
in
it-
Madden a lot.
was that the Jake Locker Christian Ponder draft?
Yeah, it would have been.
Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, same year.
Oh, sweet Christ.
Cam Newton was that year as well?
2011.
Oh, it might have been the year before.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah, I think so.
I remember being quite gutted that the
We-
49ers didn't get Blaine Gabbert.
Is anyone? Well, you did eventually. Is anyone going to pick against the Bills as the AFC Super Bowl contender?
No.
This team is demolishing.
My only worry is that
Yeah.
they've peaked too early.
I said the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, so I'm going with the Chiefs.
Well, I said the Broncos, so I'm going to
I
change my
said
mind
the
to the Bills.
Um,
No, I think
Can the Dolphins hang with the Bills? We haven't seen this yet.
But we're going to
But
find out.
They're
They're playing on Sunday.
is it this week?
Yeah.
Wow. Quickly, anyone want to take a pick in that game? I'll take the Bills.
I'm taking the Bills.
Dolphins.
Of course you are. John, you want to even this up?
tie.
Hang on, let's see.
No, I'm going to go with the Bills. The defense will be able to do better.
It is in Miami. I will say probably the one weakness of the Bills is their cornerbacks.
Yeah. Well, White still isn't playing, is he?
No.
They've lost a few people. I don't know.
He was getting 4 yards of separation
Yeah, but the pass rush is going to be a lot better.
on Pro Bowl
So you're not.
quarterbacks.
Yeah,
You got Von Miller.
yeah, he's not going to have as much time. So still needs time. No matter how fast you are, you still need at least a couple of seconds longer to get that much separation.
Did you see Von Miller's T-shirt?
No.
When he turned up, it was Josh Allen for MVP.
Nice.
No one's saying that Mike Vrabel should be on the hot seat here, but is it going to be a case of when do we hand over to Malik Willis, or is it a case of we have to do more to get Derrick Henry in the game? Because one of those two things is true.
His record so far has earned him half a season.
More
He's got time to right the ship. He could have a down season, and I think
if they don't make
still
the
be
playoffs?
employed.
Yeah.
He could.
Fine.
He's guaranteed one more season. They were the number one seed last year.
I also think taking AJ Brown away from him, that wasn't his decision.
No.
Like if you go back and look at the video when that trade was announced, he walked out shaking his head.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't happy
He
with
wasn't
that.
happy with that at all.
No, and Tannehill isn't an elevator. He is only as good as what's
exactly.
around him, and what's around him at the moment is struggling.
Yeah.
But I think they'll right themselves, and I think they're very lucky with the division they're in. So let's get to that. With the Titans already in trouble, what of the Colts and Texans, who could only tie in week 1? Indy travelled to Jacksonville, where they comprehensively shat the bed in a 24-0 blowout loss. Ryan shut out for only the second time in his career. Anyone want to tell me when the first time was?
2010.
No, you're so far off. They lost last year, 25-0
Yeah, that would have been bad.
to the Patriots.
The Jags are top of the AFC South.
The Jags are top of the AFC South.
Worst to first.
Well, I said I had them down for 7 wins minimum. And
That might be enough in this division.
and it might be, but this is comfortably the best game Trevor Lawrence has had. Now, I know the Colts haven't got a lot going, but he looked like a proper bona fide quarterback in the NFL for the first time under the right coach.
This is the Colts playing Jacksonville.
8 in a row they've lost in Jacksonville.
It doesn't matter.
8 in a row.
It's a free-
Jacksonville. How shonky have Jacksonville been in that time?
They've had one good team in that time,
Yeah,
right?
2017.
Yeah.
Isn't the Colts that they only get shut out by Jacksonville?
Yeah.
Like, it's just... I don't know. I don't like to think of, like, hoodoos and witches' curses, but I look at that team, I think it's the only explanation. But the Colts are appalling, both sides of the ball. They waived their kicker, who had busted hips last week.
Blankenship, yeah.
So it just looks like an absolute mess. And
The Colts' second
Frank
half
Reich's
was...
arse must be burning.
Well, it must be,
Yeah.
because it was him that demanded that they had Carson Wentz last year. And I think if they miss the playoffs, I think he is out.
If this carries on,
Colts'
he
second
could be
half.
out before that.
Yeah.
Punt, turnover on downs, interception, end of game.
I tell you,
Terrible.
the one thing that really impressed me with Jacksonville was the other Josh Allen.
The
Yeah,
defense.
He's
The
brilliant.
whole of the
The
defense.
whole of the defense was on fire on Sunday. They were all playing brilliantly. They were playing like they played when they played the Bills last year. That was the only time the Jags played half decently under Urban Meyer, was when they played the Bills.
Yeah.
They will improve under Pedersen.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
they absolutely will. Imagine if they'd
they
had him last year.
Yeah.
Matt
Yeah,
Ryan,
God.
16 of 30 for 195 yards, 3 interceptions, sacked 5 times.
He had no time on the ball.
Absolutely
whatsoever.
not a
Again,
chance.
That's not a terrible offensive line for the Colts. It's not like the Raiders. It's not as good as
They have
say,
the
Lions.
highest paid O lineman in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Jags were just able to get to him. Like you say, Josh Allen was.
They
pretty
also
much
bottled up the
everywhere.
running game. Taylor,
Yeah.
9 carries, which is not enough,
Well-
for 54 yards. That
Devin Lloyd, the linebacker that they drafted this year, rookie linebacker out of Utah. He was just everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's like, let me get the name right, Shaquille Leonard.
Shaquille Leonard. Here's the thing. So if the O-line isn't quite good enough, Matt Ryan's always going to struggle. But what Matt Ryan is very good at is picking out wide receivers. He's always been very good at that. Look at his record. However,
Didn't have any.
he didn't have any. Michael Pittman was out, and they are so thin.
Michael Pittman and Alex Pierce was out as well. They're,
Yeah.
they're 2 top wide
So
receivers.
You can't remember. Matt Ryan has always had a top level
Yeah, yeah.
wideout.
Yeah, he has.
And you know, people are like, oh, Julio wasn't there the entire time. Roddy White was there.
Calvin Ridley was there beforehand. Tony Gonzalez was there as a tight end.
He's always had a top level option.
Have you ever heard of Aston Doolin?
No, but
Aston Doolin has been on the Colts for 4 years. He has a total of 26 receptions in 4 seasons.
5 of them came on Sunday.
Yeah, 8 of them this year.
Fucking.
Like, they've got nothing at wide receiver.
Mike
And
Strachan.
No, it's
Mike
not,
Strachan.
it's not pronounced Strachan.
Is it not?
It was like drawn or something.
Well, he had
it's
one
written
reception for 23 yards.
It's not good. This name is clearly one that's made up. Desmond Patton.
Yep.
Like,
Kylan Granson.
they're just regeneration names.
I just typed Michael Strachan into Google and it asked me, "Did you mean Michaela Strachan?"
And the answer is yes.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
And this is the problem. And you know,
But this has been a problem for like how many of the last 5 years?
but before you move on, let me tell you who didn't have any receptions, even though they've got no wide receivers. Kiki Kuti, no receptions. He's just there to.
And did he have any targets?
No, he didn't.
That's the problem.
I don't think he's even.
He's the
suiting up.
return man, and he had a fumble, and that's all he did.
He ain't there to return. He's there to catch balls.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
stuff for Jacksonville. Very pleased for them to have finally appointed a good coach.
But good coach, Christian Kirk. You know, he's
like,
expensive,
yeah,
but
that can. Well, he's now only the 18th top paid wide receiver in the league.
And how many touchdowns he got? 3 in 2 weeks?
Yeah, exactly. It's not terrible.
Imagine if you did have him in fantasy and you thumbed your nose at everyone and then you didn't play him.
But did you like how I showed humility in our group chat?
Yeah, that's what you call it.
well, it's better. It's better than just
To be fair, Paul's bench at the weekend did pretty well in Dynasty.
yeah.
Man, I suck.
But yeah, we
Join the club. We are the sucky club.
mentioned it earlier.
no,
Me and Jim were discussing who is the worst team in the NFL because he mentioned the Cardinals and I came up with the Colts.
The Colts, to be fair, yeah.
I quite like seeing the Jags. I don't like seeing the Jags, but it's nice seeing the Jags competitive. I don't want to see them win.
Who are they playing when we go to London in a few weeks?
Hey.
Oh, Broncos.
The Broncos. Are you telling me right now, as it stands, that that's not going to be a probable Jacksonville win?
I think it's a Jacksonville win.
Well, that has the opportunity to be a right suck bowl.
Yeah.
Based on the way the Broncos playing right now, yeah.
Right, well, let's get to that. So the Texans played the Broncos in a game neither deserved to win. Denver eventually going up 16-19 for the victory. Here's our new segment for the week. Hack it or sack it.
Sack it.
Boil that bollock.
It's not a teabagging
When
reference.
in the fourth quarter, the crowd are counting down the play
Oh,
clock
that was
because
amazing.
no one else can.
They
Apparently.
kept getting delay of game penalty,
Yeah.
so the crowd were counting down from 10.
13 flags were thrown for 100 yards they lost on offense. They are fucking.
They had to
abysmal.
use one timeout because they're about to receive a punt without a guy at the back to receive it. Like,
Yeah.
this game shouldn't. My Irish friend Steve, who's a Broncos fan, he said, "Oh, who the Broncos got this?" I was like, "You got the Texans." You go, "What?" I was like, "That'll be a walkover. You'll be fine." He's "Oh, good." And yeah, it wasn't. It's a tight game, and when you're in a tight game, you can't afford to use timeouts because you can't get a fucking receiver back on the field to return a punt.
It's the whole offense has been a mess under Hackett so far, and this kind of comes down to Russell Wilson is used to playing a certain way. Now, it wasn't always in sync with what Pete Carroll wanted, but he had also an element of freedom. I think Nathaniel Hackett wants to call plays a different way because Aaron Rodgers is nothing like Russell Wilson, and I just don't think he knows how to use him.
I also think, I can't stand Russell Wilson. He's one of the most hated people in the game, if you ask me.
Even more so this season. Like
Yeah,
that.
it seems to be getting worse. I thought he'd get better when he left the Seahawks.
Also, those post-game interviews as well are horrendous.
That's right. Fuck off.
No, it's like he was advertising a product. Wasn't
Yeah,
he? Like he plugged into his hip or something.
it's really strange.
A radio. Anyway, I don't like the guy, but if you've got a quarterback that experienced, and you are apparently a shit at play calling in terms of being a head coach, just turn it over to Russell Wilson and see what he can do because it can't be any worse. Like it's embarrassing of the Broncos, and quite rightly they were.
Russell
booing
Wilson,
the team off.
14 of 31.
Yeah.
Below
He was
50% completion.
He was about 6 of 15 at one point for like 30 odd yards.
And also, Russell Wilson, fairly elusive as a player, was sacked 3 times. That's like nothing is working right for the Broncos. They've got so much making up to do.
Him and Hackett need to sit down, and Hackett has to go, how do you want to play this game? Because you're better than me.
I think he does. We must say the Denver rushing game was better this week. Williams and Gordon had 25 carries combined for 130-ish yards. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do maths on the fly. Does not
not
work.
this time of night, mate.
But and to be fair, like Courtland Sutton, 122 yards, but there's nothing else.
Jerry Jeudy went off in the first quarter.
Yeah, he had 1 reception for 11 yards. That doesn't help. Who is Eric Solberg?
Don't know, but he's the answer. when you need a touchdown.
Yeah, who do you throw to? Eric. Who are you going to call? Eric Sober. I mean, I've never heard of the guy. It's another
Even
one I've not
Kendall
heard.
Hinton had a reception.
If his nickname isn't Stone Cold,
Stone Cold so bad. It just looked so disjointed. The Texans are just talent poor, which is why they didn't win this game. They just don't have a lot going for
that's
them.
a very polite way of saying they suck, isn't
They
it?
do.
They do suck. I mean, basically, if Brandon Cooks doesn't get 100 yards, they don't have a chance, and he only got 54 yards. So they didn't stand a chance. I struggle to see where either of these teams is going this season.
Well, I struggle to see where the Texans are going. The Broncos.
But the Texans will be happy to finish with a top 4 or 5 pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Broncos will not.
No.
The Seahawks were really pissed off if the Broncos finished that badly. Which kind of makes me happy. You kind of expect the Broncos to get better, because they have to, right?
I mean, as well, the ill discipline and the poor management. It probably will be what means that whatever happens at the end of the season, Hackett has to go, because you can't give a bloke Russell Wilson and then be like, okay, I don't know how to.
I don't know how to do this again.
Yeah.
We have
it's
called for
embarrassing.
early firings in the past. Nick Sirianni was our biggest fail recently.
Yeah, what's he doing this season?
Yeah, I get it, but
Urban Meyer was the
We
other
did.
one, though,
Me and Mike, we did bring up Urban Meyer this weekend as we were pretty fucking white.
yeah, that's John and I's biggest win. We were hammering the lot of you on that one.
you two with Urban Meyer and Gary with the Rams. It's like that's basically last season in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Yeah, we got that right. Not much else. Okay. Well, we will be revisiting Hack It or Sack It every other week to see what we think.
Well, currently it's Sackett.
Absolutely. Right. The late game Sunday saw age-old rivals, the Packers and the Bears, clash in Green Bay. And despite Chicago winning last week, this one was never in doubt, was it? I mean, the Bears just don't beat Green Bay anymore. 27-10 win for the Packers. Justin Fields threw 11 passes in this game.
Completed
11.
7.
Yeah, oh,
He
great.
attempted it 11 times.
Yeah, great. What?
Pathetic.
It's absolutely ridiculous. He scored a touchdown with his legs and then did nothing.
So, like the Broncos winning the last game, that both them and the Packers just did what they needed to, which was just win the game. Wasn't impressive, just did what you needed to do.
The Packers just controlled the game. The running game was amazing.
The running game was brilliant.
38 times they ran the ball.
But
Of course they
also,
did.
When you take away Roquan Smith, what's there?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't understand a team which is chasing the game through much of the game. Only 11 passes.
David
Justin
Montgomery
Fields-
played well. He got 122 rushing
Yeah,
yards.
absolutely. But
But yeah, they needed to throw the ball.
yes,
Darnell Mooney, across 2
he's
weeks,
got, 3 receptions?
yeah, has -4 yards,
Fucking
I
hell.
believe.
Like we were also everyone was saying, Darnell Mooney's going to be a great fantasy pickup. He's all they got to throw to there. -4 yards.
I believe it's -4 yards.
You've got to throw the ball to get receptions, don't you?
Well, and this is the problem. Like last week, Jim was saying to me, "Well, you can't learn much from last week because
You
of the
can't.
rain." No, fair enough. You can
This
learn a
week
lot from
you-
this week.
this week-
because
but
I
this
would
week you
rather
learn-
see Justin Fields given 25 throws
Yeah.
and getting picked off a couple of times against a good Green Bay defense.
This week is more about
than just bottling him up.
this week's more about Matt Eberflus than it is about Justin Fields.
And this is because you've got a really creative, dynamic, offensive player with a defensive head coach who doesn't know how to use him, which is what I said would happen. Because I think Justin Fields is Kyler Murray-esque in terms of athleticism and probably a better player to coach, but he needs to be coached. He's not ready.
Of course, he needs to be coached.
And I don't think they're coaching him properly.
He also needs to be media coach because he basically came out and ripped on the fans.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, that probably wasn't clever.
That's not ideal. Do you remember Sammy Watkins? Only won 93 yards in this game. I think he was the lead receiver for Green Bay.
It was, yeah.
But he should be.
But it's him or Randall Cobb. Did Alan Lazard play? I think he did come
Alan
back.
Lazard had 2 receptions for 13 yards.
Did Christian Watson get any targets?
He did. He had 3 targets, 3 catches for 9 yards.
Ooh, that's going badly.
It's
Didn't
still
drop
early.
balls.
The Packers did have a goal line stand
Do you know
to
what-
stop the Bears scoring as well at one point. But
Back to the part. You look at the distribution of the passing, and it's pretty even across all of them. You know, Sammy Watkins had the most targets at 4. Then you've got a whole range of players who had 3. So if Roch's...
You know, like they have those things on their wrists with the blade.
yeah.
Did he just have a tally chart?
You kind of do think that.
Sammy gets an extra one for seniority.
But that makes it a little bit difficult to defend against when you've also got 2 running backs who are just like absolutely ripping it apart.
It's the do you know who the offensive coordinator is at the Bears? It's Luke Getsy, who was the
quarterback coach.
At Green Bay.
Yeah.
So what Green Bay have lost has actually gone and just made
And
other
this
teams
is the thing,
bad.
we've just slagged off Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator, and Luke Getsy was the quarterback coach.
Yeah.
And it's 2 guys who were basically responsible for looking after one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen.
it's not
They've
like-
done nothing.
For a guy who doesn't listen to his coordinators.
It's not like they developed him.
I believe I
Like,
described it in my written piece for the website the other week as taking Stevie Wonder's music teacher and assuming he can teach you how to play as well as Stevie Wonder. It's not the same. Like, this guy's just really talented, and you've got people who aren't as good. Okay. Sadly, and finally game this week. It's last for 2 reasons. Firstly, it was shit. And secondly,
I enjoyed it for
it
most
may
of
have
it.
shaped the future of this season's NFC. And it therefore deserves discussion. San Francisco 27, Seattle 7. The score, not really the real news. I don't think anyone really thought that after their week 1 victory, they were necessarily going to steamroller over the 49ers. But Trey Lance is done for the year with a broken ankle. And the best backup in football came in, led the team to a win, and will now probably take them all the way to the NFC title game, like he does.
Cool.
Over to you, Jim.
I've got no complaints about that. The only complaint I have is the amount of power running that Trey Lance has done. He's not at that age. He shouldn't be running into the middle of bloody. And we said it last
He
week.
shouldn't be playing like a fullback.
Well, yeah, but there are other quarterbacks who play like a fullback and have done very well. Jalen Hurts, for example, some of the runs he had last night. So it can be done, but we did say last week, guy needs to slide. Now, this wasn't when he got injured. That wasn't about sliding. That was just a freak accident, which could have happened in the pocket, like the way they crumpled down on his ankle. It was just unfortunate.
He'll get used to sliding now because it's the only way he can go down the stairs.
Absolutely. but this is why they made the move to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, because A, there's always a risk of injury, and B, Garoppolo knows the system. They could get him on a cheaper deal.
Was it also because the Rams knew that if he became available, they were going to have him to back up Stafford,
Possibly.
which
the Niners
helps.
didn't want.
Which the Niners don't want.
And they
but
didn't want him to go to Seattle either.
No.
They were rumoured who would be interested in.
John Lynch is smart.
Yeah. It's
Really, really smart GM that makes very little mistakes. And this just shows why having a long-tenured, clever GM makes a difference.
And I agree with you. It probably gives the 49ers a better chance to win this season. That was always
But the thing
case.
is, it also gives them a better chance to win next season. Sorry, because I think through the first game and a quarter, Trey Lance has proven to be exactly what I thought, which is really undercooked. You were saying he should be played to get more
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely.
This was always going to happen
But
because he's not ready.
But you said it with Justin Fields last week. You can't read anything into what happened on the field.
Well, you've still got to win in bad weather games.
you go.
You don't just get to win when the weather's good.
I mean, you're going to if you get to the championship games, you're going to be playing probably in Green Bay in February.
Absolutely.
You know,
But if you're an experienced quarterback doing that, that's one thing. If you're effectively a rookie doing that, that's something else.
I agree. It's just different ways of looking at the same problem. Like, I looked at last week and thought, oh, if Jimmy G had played, you'd have crucified him.
Disagree with that. I think we probably would have won. I agree with you there. Crucified.
But Trey Lance hasn't looked ready, didn't really look ready in the preseason, and it's because they built their future around him. They've stuck with it and gone with it. And the worst decision they made is naming him the starting quarterback.
I don't think
this
that was
season.
the worst decision. I stand by that. And even now, even with everything that's happened, your whole premise is the fact he's not experienced enough. The only way to get experience is to give him experience.
It was to stay in college.
I'd like to put him on loan. They should have a loan system in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well,
we've
they
said
do
that.
need a
Yeah, we've said that
developmental
so
league.
many
They
times.
absolutely do need that.
It was just like the Texans are terrible. Go on loan to the Texans for 6 games.
Yeah.
Quickly then, the Seahawks, they scored their only points on a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Gino came back down to earth. They were dreadful.
Shock horror. The 49ers defense is good and the Seattle offense isn't.
Offense?
Offense, yeah.
Oh,
That was kind of-
offense.
to be fair, I was actually burping as I was saying that.
Oh, how disgusting. Yeah, I mean, look, the second half was dreadful. The Niners were 20-0 up at half time, and the final score was 27-7. The biggest problem for the Seahawks is they don't have a defence either. Like, they've got nothing.
But when your entire defence is based around one man who's now fucked.
There's so many other problems with the Seahawks. There's Geno Smith.
Everything.
There's the rushing game. There's the
fact that they gave DJ Dallas the ball to throw and he got picked off.
That was so
for
shit.
the interception.
That's such a shit throw as well. Like, I'm all for trick plays. They're very insane.
Oh, that was a terrible. I thought John would have done a better idea. He would also have been quicker to the sideline to try and block the bloke off, which he didn't do. DJ, who the fuck even remembered DJ Dallas was there? Wasn't he a fighter in like Street Fighter or something? DJ, I think he was.
Sounds like he should have been. Nick Bosa got another 2 sacks, so that's 3 for the season.
He'll make that Pro Bowl this year.
He made the Pro Bowl last year.
Max Crosby.
It was just he wasn't all pro. Because Max Crosby fell off so many tackles.
That is true. Okay, that is the roundup of all the games. Some highs and lows for just about everybody in there. Want your nominations for Sweetest Player of the Week brought to us by Toot Sweet?
I'm going to put forward Kyler's 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that was pretty decent.
The second one or the first one?
The one where he
Ran
ran for 22 seconds.
The 85-yard, 22-second. Yeah. Okay. Anyone want to submit anything else?
I am going to go for DeAndre Swift's touchdown where he fell over, got back up, and then ran in a touchdown.
Also very good.
I really liked Gesicki's touchdown catch because the air he got and to get his feet down, and that was when the Dolphins started moving.
Seeing as we are an even number this week, I will forego and I will simply make a selection from the 3 in front of me. I cannot ignore the Kyler Murray 2-point conversion play as the Sweetest Player of the Week. Thank you, Paul. John was talking to me the other day about whether or not we should have, I can't remember what you called it, the Waste Management Do Your Job Moment of the Week award.
Yeah.
There have been some pretty bad plays this week is what we were getting at. So, would anyone like to nominate any particularly bad play of the week?
DJ Dallas.
DJ Dallas was the fucking worst play.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, we're all on board with that one. That's the one I was also going to nominate. So, DJ Dallas, thanks very much for showing up this one week. And Paul, a Cleveland frown, if you would, better than last week's pun, which is terrible.
Okay, so thumbed in pun of the week. There's one person we didn't mention
At all.
There's probably a lot of people we didn't mention, to be fair.
I mean, there's 32 times 53.
Colonel Banana.
Yeah.
Oh, even people who don't play. Let's talk about Colonel Gaddafi for 30 minutes. No.
Save it for the Dictators podcast.
But one person who we haven't mentioned, who I actually think has been really quite good in terms of the Chiefs this season, is their running back. So I would like to talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I know you came up with it late.
Oh, no, I like it. What was the other one I saw you point out earlier? It was a Jerry Judy related pun that he wanted to use.
It was terrible.
Call of Judy, I believe, was what it was.
It was so bad.
Okay, so tell me more about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because I'm delighted by that. I believe he did get a name check earlier, to be fair, but not under his new moniker.
I just think he's someone who the Chiefs are just everything is going well for them. There's no one area of their play which is really going badly. And I think that's someone who needed to step up. And to be fair, after 2 games, he has.
Yeah, they need the consistency out of the running game if they're going to match the Bills all the way this year, I think. They did very well and they beat them in overtime last year. But if you were seeing that game again, it would be a coin flip. Having Clyde Edwards, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, on side would certainly help that. Any other news? I have some.
Go on.
Jamie Collins is returning to the Patriots for a 3rd stint, apparently. He is there today.
Really?
Anything to strengthen. Basically, not having Hightower in the defence has made us a poorer defence, and I think they feel Jamie Collins can fill that.
Jamie Collins make it a better defence?
He always does when he plays for us. Like, you can't deny that. He's been pap everywhere else.
All right.
But that's the only news I've got for you. I was just trying to bring you something fresh.
Modern era nominees for the Hall of Class fame for 2023.
Hall of Class fame.
Hall of Fame class have been announced. Some notable names: quarterbacks, Randall Cunningham's there, Donovan McNabb's there, Stephen McNair's there again. Defensive backs, first time that Darrell Revis could be nominated, and he's there. I mean, there are some. Me and Paul were looking at this earlier. There are some.
It's Joe Thomas's year as well.
Yeah,
it is Joe Thomas's year as well.
Rodney Harrison,
Sante Samuel,
How many of those
Barber, Cam Chancellor,
Bob Sanders.
How many of those quarterbacks you've just named would actually get into the Hall of Fame?
I don't think any of them.
No,
Steve McNair.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
He's the best one out of the names you mentioned.
I don't think there was any quarterback that would get in.
I'm not sure any of them are.
Wide receivers then. I'll give you this. Anquan Bolden, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, Roddy White we mentioned earlier, Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne, Wes Welker.
Oof, there's some.
I mean, there are some great ones there, even like Muhsin Mohammed.
Yeah.
Donald Driver was fantastic in Green Bay.
Devin Hester, more as returner, but absolutely from a special teams point of view, could be there. Defensive lineman, Justin Tuck, Vince Wilfork, Justin Smith, Casey Hampton, Jared Allen.
Wow.
Dwight Freeney, the master of the spin move.
Absolutely. Sure, we stick with defense, linebackers.
I mean, also, could you see how good the Colts used to be?
Right. Linebackers, DeMarcus Ware, Willie McGuinness, Tykia Spikes,
Wow.
Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman. It's the first time he's been nominated.
Brewski.
Yeah, Teddy Bruschi
There's
still
like six linebackers there that could actually get
there. Absolutely. Offensive lineman, you mentioned Joe Thomas, Chris Snee for the Giants, Jeff Saturday,
in. Wow, yeah.
DeBrickshaw Ferguson, just because it's called DeBrickshaw.
Shaw Ferguson, amazing.
And then running backs, Tiki Barber.
And there's MVPs here.
Yeah, Brian Westbrook,
Sean Alexander.
Chris Johnson, Eddie George, Priest Holmes, Stephen Jackson. Like, there are so many. I said it earlier. It's like when you're playing Madden and the user, you kind of load up a user draft of old players. That's what this Hall of Fame class is for me.
Navarro.
I just want them all.
Did we mention Navarro
Yeah,
Bowman?
Navarro Bowman, first year of eligibility. He's there. Yeah, should be a good class.
Yeah, there's certainly some big names on there. I don't envy the people who have to narrow that
How do
down.
you pick some of those? Like, how do you pick 5 or 6 out of all that lot?
I really don't know, especially when two of them, Daryl Reeves and Joe Thomas, are guaranteed.
Yeah. Yes.
So then you're down to 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lot of linebackers who should be getting in that are not getting in first time.
Yeah, I think it's time for Teddy Bruschi to get in there, and Willie McGuinness, actually.
I've seen a lot of social media clamour for Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you leave out Vince Wilfork?
James Harrison's there as well. He was brilliant.
James Harrison. See, you'd think he's got to be first ballot. You would think that's got to be pretty tight.
I think that's his first year.
I mean, like Jared Allen, we didn't mention. Jared Allen.
He got a name check again. You're just not listening to the podcast.
You
It's
were
all right.
looking at a list.
Too busy looking at your filth on the laptop there.
John Abraham as well.
Andre Johnson from the Texans.
Oh my God, it's like he really wasn't listening to anything that's been said at all. He's tuned out entirely. Yes, he is there. Anyone else? Name some other players you don't think were mentioned.
Navarro Bowman.
I like Justin Tuck.
Yep, he also got a name.
yeah,
Excellent
name check
stuff.
as well.
Yeah, good.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
He does.
Yeah.
He constantly tells the Eagles fans he's got one more than them, which I love.
Any other news, gentlemen?
Jalen Smith's back.
Oh, really?
He's just signed for the Giants.
Oh.
He's on the practice squad in time to play the Cowboys at the weekend.
Oh wow!
And it looks like week 3's got some fun games because...
Take me through a couple of the games you think are worthwhile mentioning, John.
Well, the Steelers at the Browns on Thursday night, which is always fun.
It's going to be fun, but that might be
It's going to be
turgid
turgid. Talking turgid. Texans Bears.
Oh, I mean,
this week's toilet bowl.
Bills Dolphins looks a lot of fun.
Bills Dolphins is probably big enough for me to consider watching the game rather than Red Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Packers Bucks Sunday night.
Yeah.
Of course, Cowboys Giants. If you just come off a shutout against Jacksonville, the team you don't want to be inviting to Indianapolis is the Chiefs.
Oh my God, they're going to be 0-1 and
0-2
1. 0-2-1. Yeah, Christ.
But
Vikings Lions could be interesting.
Vikings Lions could be fun. Ravens Pats. And something important as well. Bengals going to the Jets. Bengals after their first win. Jets.
On a high.
And Flacco is starting. They've named Flacco already as the starter. For
week 3. They're saying it's going to be at least week 4 before Wilson's back. And they will bring him straight back in, but I'm not sure they should. Especially if he wins this week. If they're 2-1, why do you bring the kid back? Give him plenty of time to recover.
Give him time. A worrying opposition for Justin Herbert. Got the Jags, who if you're going into a game with
Rib injuries.
you don't want to be going up against Josh
That
Allen,
is the sort of game
Walker.
you'd expect the Chargers to lose.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's
That's
at home, but that doesn't mean anything to the Chargers, does it?
It sounds like we've got some big games coming up this week. That sounds excellent. Multiple screen viewing, I think.
But yeah, can we also mention another toilet bowl? It's Falcons Seahawks.
Ooh, Falcons are going to win that so easily.
At 9:30 on a Sunday night, you can go, should I watch the Rams Cardinals or the Packers Buccaneers? No, I'll watch the Falcons Seahawks.
For me, I would rather watch very bad football than average football.
Yes, agreed. Laughably bad
for
football is
comical
better than
value,
average
yeah.
football. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, you are a Giants fan, so.
And I've watched a lot of bad football.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of good football you'd be missing to watch some.
So if you were watching
bad football.
Broncos Patriots right now, that sounds terrible. But I don't know, Texans against whoever you said they're playing, Bears. That's going to be hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm watching the XFL.
Oh, that's
but yeah.
harsh.
Only one Monday night game this week.
As there should be. Two Monday night games, too many. How
Uh,
ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more next year.
Oh, for
I
Christ.
think there might be, I think 4 to 7 weeks where there's multiple Monday night games
Don't like
because
it. Don't like it at all.
they've given. It's all about they've
Taking
given,
games.
rights,
taken
isn't
money
it?
to money to give them money from Disney.
It's just daft because it's taken away the opportunity for Octobox on a Sunday.
It is, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't like. They tried to sneak in Octobox by saying here's 7 games and Hanson, and it's like
Boo.
no, that's
I mean,
cheap.
He's a handsome guy. So.
I don't care. It was cheap. It was a sneak attack. I didn't like it. Right. Thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week with or without Gary. Who knows?
Depending on relationship status.
Whether or not he remembered their anniversary. Let's hope that is what he's remembered. Okay. Good night, all.